So Jeannie, you've got your photos there from back in at your experience at the 1969 Woodstock Festival.
Yes.
So, can you just describe what was going on in this photo?
Okay, in this picture, the one thing that I remember was that wine bottle. You know, I didn't see the photographer that took it, but I remember standing there, and I can actually remember the same, you know, the time of day that it was, because I was working for Food for Love. As you can see, I've got my name tag there.
Okay.
And I was working for Food for Love, and I had to be at the concession stand at 7 o'clock that morning. Well, I had been rained on all night. I'd been partying all night. And this other boy, he worked up at the concession stand too, and I was walking up there with my friend, and she said her legs were cold. Now, this is a dress that I'm wearing, but my legs, you know, I put jeans on underneath it because I'd got cold and wet and everything. And so his friend told my friend, I'll take you back to my tent and get you a pair of jeans. So I was holding the bundle to start off with. That was my clothes.
Right.
And I had it wrapped in plastic to try to keep some things dry. But his friend took my friend back to his tent and got her a pair of jeans. And afterwards, you know, they came back and we went up to the concession stand and worked all that day. And I was working for Food for Love. Van and I, we had left like about a month before the festival at Woodstock actually took place. But we wound up going to Washington, D.C., to Philadelphia, to the New Jersey Pop Festival. And then right after the New Jersey Pop Festival, happened 2 weeks before the Woodstock Festival, we went to the town of Woodstock. But when we went to the town of Woodstock, we found out it wasn't
The
there.
festival had been moved.
And they told us, you know, between Bethel and White Lake. So we went over there, and there was only several people. So we, you know, went ahead and set up a little camp there on the side of the road. And we were able to actually get jobs working for the festival. I worked for Food for Love, Van worked for security. And
Do you remember how you did that? How did you get the jobs? Like, was it just a word of mouth thing? Did they advertise, or?
I ran into a friend of mine when we first heard about the Woodstock Festival. I had heard about it at the Pop Festival in Atlanta. And we're all Pop Festival people.
Right. Because you're from Georgia, right?
Well, I was living in Georgia. I was a runaway, and I had run away from home at 15, and by this time I was 16. And I'd been living up on the Strip and, you know, just doing my thing. And I didn't know Van before I got into his van.
Right.
And,
Van's van.
Yeah. And I thought I was going up to the Strip to hitchhike. And as it turns out, I wound up with a group of 5 boys and my friend Dottie. And I've had a love for her ever since. You know, I did not realize when I got in that van that I had family there. Sorry about crying, but
You know, I never knew her real name. She was Peter Pan to us. I guess she was kind of hiding her identity.
yeah.
And just a few years ago, I saw this picture on a post on Facebook, and one of the replies to that was me, and I said, I know that girl. I went to Woodstock with her, and she said, I'm Jeannie Whitworth. That's the first time I ever knew her name, 43 years later.
After all that.
And she said, I'm a real estate broker in Panama City, Florida. So me and my wife went down and visited her, and it was an emotional experience. I cried when I met her.
Yeah.
Because at the time, Van, do you remember, you know, what was in your heart when you saw Jeannie, the way she was, and you know?
Oh yes, it was a feeling of joy. 4 of our group of 7 had passed away.
Right.
And when I found out that she was still with us,
Yeah.
another
Do you
one.
remember back in the time when you brought Jeannie on board with you? Like,
I had a friend, Sissy Norwood, that wanted to go with us, and she was a neighbor of mine growing up. And Sissy said, my two friends want to go too. They're downtown, and I said, well, good, we'll come by and pick you up. We'll go down and pick up your friends. And so we went to Sissy's house to pick her up, and her mother wouldn't let her go. Her mother actually threw herself down in front of the door and cried and wouldn't let her go. Which Sissy spent 50 years telling her mother that she ruined her life, not let her go. But we went downtown, and there was Dottie and Peter Pan. And they jumped in the van, didn't have an idea who we were, and we took off cross country.
that would have taken a big leap of faith, like, I mean, literally.
I don't know if it was a leap of faith or just, I was such a kid back then. I just trusted everybody. That was, I was very naive, I should say. I could have been jumping in a van with a bunch of killers, but I didn't. I jumped into a van of some of the best people I ever met, and there was just such a camaraderie, I believe, almost instantly. We just all seemed to click and get along, and I wasn't left on the side of the road. I didn't tell them that I was a runaway or my age until we'd crossed a couple of state lines. And so then I informed them, oh, by the way, boys, I am 16 and a runaway, and my daddy will kill whoever I'm with. But it turned out to be such an exciting time of my life and something that stuck. Because when I left there, I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that I had come to know what my life meant, and that was, to spread the love, to spread the peace, to share, to have compassion for my brothers and sisters. Like I've always said, no big eyes or little U's. And I treat everybody, as a brother or sister. It doesn't matter.
And did you find that was pretty much the ethos of people coming to Woodstock, that you generally? That was where everyone was at? Or?
Yeah, I really do. I think that, as I have said before, it's like a gathering of the tribes. Because people from all over, even Europe, were coming in. And from California, New York, the north, the south, the east, the west, it was like a gathering of like-minded people. They came, they thought they were coming for the music, but they got so much more when they got there. But it was a time where when the storm hit, nobody could get out. You couldn't run and get under shelter. You were out there, and you had to, gather close together to keep each other safe and warm. And
so complete strangers.
Yeah, complete strangers.
What are the usual to-dos, the social to-dos?
Yeah.
Divide, everyone just mucked in.
And one thing that I learned is I went through the Hurricane Michael, 10 months ago down in Panama City, and my home was, tore up pretty good. And I stayed through the hurricane, and after the hurricane, I said, oh my gosh, I've learned these life lessons from going to Woodstock. At Woodstock, I had to rely on neighbors for food because all the stores were tore up, and we had no way of getting food. We had no electricity for over 2 weeks. We had no running water. I had bathed in the lake, and now I'm bathing in the neighbor's swimming pool. And I wasn't embarrassed to ask them, can I please just jump in your swimming pool?
Yeah.
But it was like life lessons. And it came back to me, and I thought, now what do you do when the storm's coming up? You hunker down. And I just lay down in the hallway, kind of put my arm up over my head in case I had something to fall on me. And I realized, hey, that's what I did at Woodstock.
Yeah.
I took a piece of plastic and put it over my head. And it was, it taught me life lessons, but at the same time it showed me that there are still people out there that believe in sharing and loving and caring for their fellow man, you know, because I was starting to get so jaded and thinking, I'm all alone, I'm an old hippie and nobody's out there like me, you know, and then the hurricane hit and I said, man, this feels like Woodstock.
Wow. So what's it like coming back to Woodstock? You know, the tribes are gathering, like-minded people. And have you met a lot of like-minded people?
She walked up at Bethel Woods and said, my people.
I walked up, I said, my
Right down there at the
people,
monument.
you know, and so then I said, I've got to run up the hill. And then I said, I got to walk fast up the hill because I couldn't. I remembered running down the hill several times, you know, up and down because I was working in one of the big concession stands, and anytime I saw somebody that I really wanted to see, here I'd come flying down that hill, you know, and I was thin enough and small enough to where I could wiggle my way through, you know, and get right up close and watch the bands that I wanted, and then I'd run back up and somebody else from our concession stand would run down. But when I started working for Food for Love, I thought that we were going to actually be giving that food away. Mm-hmm. Well, anyways, I get in there and I find out that we had to take tickets, you know, for money. They were selling these tickets, you know, and they would trade them, you know, for food. So I had decided to make a couple of signs, which, you know, I look back now and I would never do that now, but I made a couple of signs that said stone, free food, stone the workers.
Right.
And so people were coming up and they, you know, here's a joint here, you know, well, here's your sandwich, you know. And Michael Lang happened to be riding on his little motorcycle and he comes right by and then I see his head flick over. And I thought, oh my God, you know, and he jumped off that bike, he came over there to where we were at. He said, who did this? Who did this? And I said, you know, I was just standing there, you know, like, I didn't want to get kicked out of a free festival. And so,
and it was free by that stage.
Yeah, by that time it was free. And so what I did was I just stood there, probably looking guilty, and I noticed a couple of other people doing their heads like, you know, and he snatched that cardboard off our, you know, off the, where I had it stapled to, and he ripped it, and he said, what's wrong with you? He said, are you stupid or crazy? And all I could say was, I thought this was food for love.
Yeah, you taken it literally.
I had taken it literally, but during the weeks before, I had been helping the hog farmers, you know, and helping serve food, and I wound up staying in their teepee for, you know, quite a bit of time, and then for 2 weeks afterwards.
We actually lost Jeannie.
Yeah.
At the end of the festival, we couldn't find her or Dottie, and we stayed, me and my four friends, four other guys, stayed a day and a half after the festival looking for them. Of course, there was still a lot of people there doing the cleanup.
Yeah.
And we never did find her. We left and went back to Atlanta, and that's the last I ever saw her.
And when did you stay? Right to the end? Did you
Stay for two days after.
Well, he
She
stayed
for weeks.
2 weeks after, and then I went into Monticello and wound up living with an artist and his wife and taking care of their baby. And then by the end of October, it was too cold for me, a Southern girl.
Yeah.
I had to get back to Atlanta.
Yeah.
So I took a bus from New York City back to Atlanta and reconnected with, you know, a lot of my old friends. But every time I went to look for Van, you know, he wasn't there. You know, and so then to hear back from him, it was like, oh my gosh, a blast from the past.
Such a great reunion.
Yeah,
we
it
were
really
we were
was.
working, so we didn't
Yeah.
get back to where we were staying very much.
Yeah. So, I mean, Jeannie's really clear about how, and can speak so beautifully about how the Woodstock
I'll let
experience
her
fit
do
into her. Well, I'm just wondering for you, you know, when you look back on it, what does it mean to you now?
It was the music. I didn't see anything political about Woodstock. Of course, everybody there was united against the war, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, we had nothing against the veterans. We all love the veterans. They were there through no fault of their own. I myself got drafted and was declared 4F right before they put me on the bus to take me to Paris Island. So I sympathized with the veterans, and I believe everybody else did too, but there wasn't anything political about Woodstock then. It was the music. We came for the music.
Yeah.
Well,
I have to say, me and my friends, when we heard about it, we heard about it through an underground newspaper in Atlanta, the Great Speckled Bird, and we scraped our money together and bought a $75 van that didn't have a starter.
Right.
So we had to push that van off every time it was cranked all the way through Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia and New Jersey and up here. So we kind of had an ulterior motive picking Jeannie and Dottie up, because when we couldn't find a hill, we had to push it off flat ground.
Oh, yeah. Some extra pairs of hands. Right?
yeah, that was an extra pair of hands.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful thing finding her, though.
Yeah.
Were there any particular musicians that you really wanted to see?
Well, I wanted to see them all, but I tell you, Sly Stone, screaming higher, and the whole crowd jumping and screaming higher, and I was right there when Jimi Hendrix, but there wasn't that many people out there. I'm sure that there were 30 or 40,000 people, but it seemed empty after the crowd previously. And every one of them was just amazing. It was all just amazing.
What about for you, Jeannie? A musical highlight for you?
Well, I'll tell you what, I had already heard about Melanie. When I was 15, I had her first album, her very first album. And so I already knew some of Melanie's music.
Because it was very early in her career. Right?
Oh yeah,
she was very
not,
young.
when I would say, well, I'm here to see Melanie, nobody knew what I was talking about. And I loved Arlo Guthrie. I thought he was just absolutely hilarious. And so, but there was so many bands, I loved just, just being in that atmosphere. The music was our music. I felt like they had written those songs, they had written them for us. Sorry, rest of the world, but this is our music. And the bands that came, and performed, Janis Joplin, I had seen her so many times, and the woman was remarkable. She put her heart and soul out there. She performed not like a lady, but like a man. With her whole, gritty, just get down in the grit with them, and I love that. I love the fact that she wasn't all prissy, and just hearing so many of them, and getting to know new ones like I'd never heard of Santana, but boy, after that was like one of their biggest fans. That young boy back there, and everybody kept saying, oh, he's on, I think he's 16, I think he's 17, I think he's 18. I'm like, ooh.
Jeannie tells a story that Wavy Gravy tried to get her to go back to New Mexico with the hog farmers and live, but she just couldn't imagine slopping hogs.
Well, I had met Hugh and Tom Long. Dottie and I had at the onset, and they had told us that we could stay in their teepee. So that's what we did. But at first, I was so used to guys hitting on me, but he wasn't hitting on me. He had a wife, and Tom Law had his wife, and they were just such sweet people. The hog farmers, they just kind of took us in, and by the end of it, Wavy Gravy said, well, y'all come on back with us, because Dottie and I, we stepped in there and helped them, when we were working at the concession stand. And we had stayed, like I said, stayed in their teepee. And, it was just meeting new friends. So I was not surprised when I heard how the hog farmers had gone on to doing so much charitable work.
So it started there. I was wondering too, as a young woman, very young woman, at the festival, about how feeling safe. I suppose the story is that there were no murders, there was no violence, did know if they, certainly no one reported any rapes or anything like that that went on. You know, your safety, how did you feel? Do
Okay,
you
my
remember what that was
safety.
like?
Well, you know, it was kind of wild because the first time that I really realized that, hey, I might be in a predicament that is not safe is I had gone down to that lake, took all my clothes off, me and a couple of my girlfriends, and was swimming in that lake, and this was before the festival. And it was, I guess, about lunchtime, and over the hill comes like 50 guys that had been working on the stage.
You see them in the movie, right? Yeah. They're strapping men.
Yeah. And I look, and I'm naked out in this lake. And so I treaded water as long as I could. I said, oh no, I'm not going to go up there with that bunch of guys eating lunch.
Yeah.
You know, some of them started coming in too. You know, come on up here and eat sandwiches with us. And I'm like, yeah.
And the rest.
But eventually, I realized that I was going to drown out there. I had a choice. They could either pull my body out naked, or I could just get out naked and eat a sandwich. So that's what I did. And so we just sat there, and then they were through eating, and they went on back up the hill. You know, we just looked at each other like, oh my God, this would not happen anywhere else.
Wow.
If I did that down there in Piedmont Park in Atlanta, I'd be a sitting duck.
Yeah,
You know,
that's right.
but there it was as if there was already a spirit here.
Yeah.
And there
So even
is-
before the people arrived, there was a spirit of peace and love.
There was, I believe it, because when we first got there, you know, you could feel such a, you know, in your heart and your soul, you know, just a peace. And I realized right away, you know, this is going to be something big. There's going to be something happening. You could feel that in the
That field
atmosphere.
still holds that too.
You think so?
That when we walked up, Jeannie's husband Orrin was in Vietnam, and he didn't go, of course. So he felt it when we walked up to the monument and we're looking out on the field. Orrin said he felt the peace that's in that field.
Yeah.
But
You can't commodify that, right?
But anyways, it was wonderful. It really was, you know. And I met my old friend again and got to know him a whole lot better. You know, I got a chance to meet his lovely wife and his family. When they came down to Panama City, they brought the whole family. So I was just tickled to death, you know, to be able to meet Donna and her mother and dad and Van's.
Our grandchildren.
Yeah, Van and Donna's children. Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, I've got a whole nother family.
Yeah.
You know, so, and we just connected right away. You know, it's like all those years, you know, had not come between us. We're just older, move slower, you know, can't, you know, run with the big dogs like we used to. We can't hardly run, period. But, you know, we're still two old hippies.
Yeah. Still family.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. Okay. Thank you. That was
You're
great.
welcome. You're welcome. I hope I didn't talk too much.
Oh, you talked too much.
But
It's okay.